This episode will begin our divisional breakdown of each division in the NFL.
And today we're going to be talking about the NFC West. This is Last Call.
Welcome into Last Call. I'm Ian Walker, and this is Jesse James.
Glad to be here as always.
Great. Let's get this started with the NFC West, and we'll begin with the Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. And like everybody wants to talk to, who won that championship for them is their defense.
Extraordinary defense, you already know. People always want to talk about the Legion of Boom for good reason. You have Richard Sherman, you have Earl Thomas, you have Cam Chancellor. Between Thomas and Richard Sherman, 13 interceptions between them. But it's not just about the secondary. The defensive line and the linebackers also played great last year.
As you mentioned, the defensive line, you have two sack leaders had at least 8 sacks, and that was Averill and Bennett. That's huge. And
Michael Bennett might be one of the most valuable players not named Richard Sherman on this team. Cliff Averill is forgotten a lot on this defense. And we can't forget about Bobby Wagner, who led the team in tackles with 120.
That's a lot of tackles.
This whole defense is good. This entire defense was stacked. They only lost 2 players, and I think they're gun for another run.
I completely agree with you. We even look at their rankings. They topped the league in every category almost.
Yeah, they were only 7th against the rush, but they were number 1 against the pass, number 1 in overall yards allowed, and number 1 in points per game. And that bodes well for an offense that we might see maybe struggling a little bit this year.
Yeah, so this defense is going to really have to step up even bigger than they did last season. But as you mentioned about the offense, let's go ahead and start talking about them. And they're led by Russell Wilson.
I'm excited about Russell Wilson. Obviously led the team to a Super Bowl in his second season. Played very well last year. He had, 26-9, 63% completion percentage. QBR wasn't that high, but 101 quarterback rating. And didn't always have to do too much, but didn't turn the ball over, was very efficient. But the question is if this defense falters, does he have the weapons around him, both in the running game and in the passing game, to help complement him if he needs to take over a game?
Yeah, I don't know if he can win a shootout, honestly, but I believe that he has the intangibles to be a top 5 quarterback. Do you believe so?
I do believe that, and it's also very important to note that he's helped out by Marshawn Lynch.
And with him not getting what he wanted in his lockout, do you think he runs a lot meaner than normal? Even though he runs mean, do you think he can run meaner than normal?
I don't see Marshawn Lynch as a player who doesn't give his all. I don't see him as a player who, despite not getting his contract, I think you're exactly right. I think he's going to be gunning for a new contract. I think he's going to be running mean, as you said, and I think he's going to be ready to tear the defenses up. But how much are they going to work him due to the lack of experience with the wide receiving core?
And that leads me into my next question. Is Percy Harvin their true number 1?
Percy Harvin cannot be their true number 1. As many injury problems as he's had, he had 1 reception last year. Now, played great in the Super Bowl and played great in the playoffs. But the problem is that their number 1 receiver, Golden Tate's gone. Their number 2 receiver is gone. And Doug Baldwin has always probably been a 3rd receiver with only averaging about 50 catches a year. Can he really be their number 1 receiver?
That was my next question. Is Doug Baldwin ready to step into the 1 or 2 role? He's always been that 3rd or 4th guy. Is he ready to step into that 1 and 2?
I don't think so. I think that this is going to be a receiving core by committee. I think good tight end Zach Miller.
Safety net, yes.
Safety net. Marshawn Lynch is probably going to have to catch more out of the backfield, and I think that a lot's going to be on Russell Wilson's shoulders, as we'll see. And I predict they'll still be very good this year. I don't think that Seattle's going to be as good as they were this year as they were last year.
And let's get into these rankings with their offense. Their running game was really well, 4th overall, but their passing game was kind of lackluster.
Well, Russell Wilson threw for almost 3,500 yards. They averaged 26 points a game. But when you average less than 350 yards, 339? Drew Brees is putting more than that in the passing game. This defense is going to have to step up, or Russell Wilson's going to have to be very special, or this team could lose its own division and be playing a wild card game on the road.
And that's their biggest thing is the 12th man. We haven't really talked about that. That's so huge.
I think the 12th man is great. I think that's the biggest advantage they have. They're extraordinary at home. Only lost one game all year last year at home. Great crowd, great home field advantage. They struggled a little bit on the road, especially on offense. The defense played well on the road. If they can get better on the road as an offense, this team could be right back in the mix next year.
Well, that ends our talk about the Seattle Seahawks. But coming up is who finished second and could possibly finish first in the division, and that is the San Francisco 49ers.